going to tell you about resilience, choices, overcoming adversity, building confidence. Let's give it up for Mr. Martinez.
That was kind of weak. I need some energy. I said, how y'all doing? Good. Okay, listen, he gave y'all the introduction. I would like to share a little more information about my childhood before I go into the speech. So, he stated, I left with that. I went to school in Valley. I really didn't want to, but I really didn't have a choice. But my grandmother's in the back. I spent a lot of time on Night Hill Road when I grew up, every weekend. I spent a lot of time in 5 Points. I spent a lot of time right down the street from this high school. I used to walk from Night Hill Road to PT just to go shoot basketball. So I spent a lot of time up here. I grew up here. I know what it's like to be here. He mentioned some of my accolades, and that's great. I really appreciate that. But that really doesn't mean a lot to me. What means a lot to me is to see you all make great decisions. So over this next 20 to 30 minutes, however long we are in here, I would like for you all to take this serious. I'm not saying that you won't, but I'm asking you to take this serious and be intentional, because I might say something that can change your life. There might be something that you learned today that can change somebody else's life. Can everybody do that? Yes? Okay, thank you. So I'm here today to speak about Black history, resilience, decision making, and building your confidence. As far as Black history, there's just a few people that I would like to highlight some of the things they've done and reasons why I feel they were resilient. Before I do that, I need some help. Can anyone in this room give me their definition of resilience? What do you have?
To keep going even if people try to knock you down.
To keep going even if people try to knock you down? What else? Give me something else. Anything. What do you have?
The ability to never stop even when hardships come through.
The ability to never stop even when hardships come through. So those are great definitions. And I would like for you all to think about that over these next few minutes when I talk about certain people. So one of the first people that I was inspired by was Dr. Martin Luther King. I'm not here to teach you about him. You've already learned about him. But what I would like to say is that he is somebody who I've always been inspired by because of his dream and because of the fact that he thrived in the face of adversity, and he spoke not only to change the lives of Black people, but all people. Now, I'd like to say that Mr. King was very resilient because he was assaulted over 4 times. His home was bombed. His family's lives were constantly in danger for him pursuing his dream and for him trying to bring forth equality for all people. So not only do I feel inspired by him, I also feel that he was a very resilient individual. Now, the next person is Harriet Tubman. And I don't even feel right saying Harriet Tubman without saying Dr. Harriet Tubman. Because even though she maybe have not had a degree, we all know she escaped slavery, and then she became a conductor on the Underground Railroad to go back and help many others escape. Now, she also served as a guerrilla soldier, a spy, and a leader for the Union Army during the Civil War. I'm a brave individual. I'm in the Army myself. But I don't know if I'm as brave as Harriet Tubman must have been to do the things she did. Now, there are 2 more people I would like to highlight and recognize before I talk about decision making. And those 2 people are Mr. John Brown and Major General Gordon Grant. And if you all know who they are, then you would know that they are 2 white men. And you may say, well, it's Black History Month. Why are you talking about 2 white men? And the reason is because, regardless of the person's race or color, I feel they are worthy of being recognized if they did something to contribute greatly to equality for all people. So, Mr. John Brown was an abolitionist. Can anyone tell me what an abolitionist was, or what that word means? Anybody? Mr. Orange might give you $10 if you can answer that question. What is it? An abolitionist was someone who wanted to abolish slavery. That is correct. And he did want to do that. So he led a raid on Harper's Ferry, which was a federal arsenal. Him and about 15 other men. Unfortunately, 10 of those men were killed in action, and he, along with about 4 or 5 others, including his 3 sons, were executed a few days later. Even though they did not achieve what he wanted to achieve right away, the Civil War did eventually start, and it was something that contributed to it. So once again, to me, he was a very resilient individual. Now, the last person that I want to highlight is Major General Gordon Granger. He issued General Order Number 3 on June 19, 1865. That order freed the remaining of the slaves in the United States at that time, primarily in Galveston, Texas. And then from that point, Juneteenth was celebrated. Now, within the last few years, Juneteenth finally became a federal holiday. That is my history piece. Those are 4 people who contributed greatly to history for all of us, who I wanted to highlight and who I feel are resilient. Now, I would like to speak to you all about decision making. And decision making is simply making a choice. But with choices comes good decisions and bad decisions. If you've ever made a good decision, raise your hand. Okay? If you've ever made a bad decision, raise your hand. I made a lot of bad decisions, right? So with this piece of this speech, I want you all to think about some of the good and bad decisions you have made in your lives and some of the decisions that you might make in the near future. Some of the bad decisions that I made in my life with the football team. And the reason I say that was a bad decision is because when I quit the football team, I started hanging with people who were doing the wrong thing. They were smoking, they were drinking, they were hanging out in the streets. And those are some of the things I did. And I won't ask you to raise your hand, but I know some of you all in this room are doing the same thing right now. So if I were you, I would perk up and pay attention to this piece. So a lot of you all are vaping. Vaping is very dangerous, bad decision. I saw a lot of my soldiers pass out on their PT test because their lungs are filled with fluid. That's how dangerous vaping is. I never vaped, but I did smoke and I did drink. I skipped school. I let my grades drop. I started hanging with people who were in and out of jail to the point that when I was 19 years old, I was held at gunpoint. Right up the street from my grandmother's house. Right out in front of Club Blaze. So I've been there where some of y'all are trying to go, and I'm encouraging you not to do it. Because there's a lot of people that were not as fortunate as me. I know people who did get shot or did get stabbed. I know people who did lose their life. I have friends and cousins who have been in and out of jail over the last 10 or 11 years that we've been out of high school. But fortunately, I got my life back on the right track. And that's why I'm here to speak to you all. So, some of the good decisions that I made. As Mr. Owen stated, I started writing poetry. And it may sound corny, it may sound like it's for girls. I'm a grown man now, that really doesn't bother me anymore. But when I was 14, I thought it was corny. But what I realized about writing poetry is that it didn't just have to be about love and flowers. It could be about whatever you wanted it to be about. So I started writing about my life. I was an angry kid. I took anger management in the 4th grade. My dad was in the federal penitentiary from the time I was 2 to the time I was 14. So I felt like I had a lot of reasons to be mad. But poetry changed my life. So when I started focusing on that, and when I got serious about publishing my first book, that was a good decision that I made. And then I started speaking. Then I started working full time. Then I was still hanging in the streets, in and out of the streets, and I decided, you know what? If I don't change my life, it may be too late. So I decided to join the Army. That was another great decision that I made. And now, 11 years since the time I was held at gunpoint, I've published 2 books. I'm about to earn my 2nd degree. I'm about to be a Sergeant First Class at 8 years when there are people who retire at Sergeant First Class. I'm not trying to brag, I'm just telling you all that I work really hard to get where I am, and I want you all to take this advice. All right, so with this next piece, I would like to talk more about resilience. They gave you their definitions. I would like to give you my definition. Resilience or resiliency is simply thriving in the face of adversity, overcoming obstacles, pushing forward through challenges. It is being tough. As you all can see, I'm 5'7", I'm 150 pounds. I was the smallest kid on every block I lived on, but there was nobody tougher than me. I was resilient from the time I was a kid, I'm resilient now. Being in the military, I become a master resilience trainer, and there are 4 skills that I would like to teach you all. But throughout this piece of this presentation, I need some help. Can I get some help? Yes? No? Okay, good. So the first skill is called real-time resilience. On 3, I want everybody to say real-time resilience. 1, 2, 3. Real-time resilience. Okay, so real-time resilience is when you get in a situation and you are having negative thoughts. So say for instance, you're about to take a test or the ACT and you're nervous and you get these thoughts in your head that say, I won't do well, I'm not smart, I'm not good at math. Real-time resilience is simply pushing back those negative thoughts and thinking positive thoughts. So instead of those negative thoughts, you say, I studied. I put in a lot of work for this ACT or for this test. My teachers did a great job in preparing me. I am smart, I can do this. That is simply real-time resilience. Pushing back negative thoughts and bringing in positive thoughts. And even for me as a speaker, I had some negative thoughts. What if I don't speak well? What if I fall off the stage? What if they think I look funny? What if I forget what to say? But then I had to tell myself, I've been speaking for 10 years. A lot of people have given me an opportunity to speak, and there are a lot of things that I can say today that can impact the lives of these students. So that was me today applying real-time resilience in my life. Now, the next skill is called hunt the good stuff. So on 3, I need everybody to say hunt the good stuff. 1, 2, 3. Hunt the good stuff. Okay, so 3 things. If you woke up today, raise your hand. Everybody in the room, right? Good. If you got a chance to see one of your friends today, raise your hand. Good. If you had lunch today, even if it was corn dogs and you didn't like it, raise your hand. Okay, so those are 3 good things, right? 3 good things. Hunting the good stuff is simply identifying 3 good things that have happened to you. And if you were to do that for 5 to 10 days consecutively, up to 6 months later, you will still be reaping the benefits of being more positive and being more optimistic. That is hunt the good stuff. Only 2 more skills, and we will talk about confidence building, and then we will go into questions and answers. All right? So, the next skill is called put it into perspective, or put it in perspective. So on 3, I need everybody to say, put it in perspective. 1, 2, 3. Put it in perspective. Okay? So say for instance, you scored a 40 on your math test. You got an F, you failed. And you tell yourself, I'm never going to make it to the next grade. I'm not smart. My teacher is not a great teacher. Those are negative thoughts. That is you overreacting to the situation. Because the reality may be, you played Call of Duty all night. You hung out with your friends all weekend and you did not study. Putting it into perspective is identifying the real cause of your issue and addressing it the next time. So instead of not studying and instead of playing the game all night and instead of talking to your friends when you should be studying, you do the things you know you should be doing and you get better results the next time. That is what it means to put it in perspective. Now, the last skill is energy management. So once again, on 3, I need everybody to say energy management. 1, 2, 3. Energy management. Okay, that is exactly what it sounds like. It is managing your energy. Reference is about taking a test, once again, or playing a football game or basketball game. So say for instance, you're about to take a test. You need to be calm, you need to be focused on your test. You should only be thinking about your test. You shouldn't be thinking about the game on Friday. You shouldn't be thinking about what you're going to do on the weekend. You should be thinking about your test, and you should be calm and centered. You're managing your energy for that specific thing you're about to do. Now, if you are an athlete, and it is game night, I imagine you warm up before you play the game. Your level of energy should be different than if you are about to take the test. And while you're about to play the game, you should not be thinking about the test. You should be focused on the game. You should be thinking about the game. You should be warming up. You should be locked in with your team. I spoke to the basketball team and the football team this summer, and I talked about unity and I talked about being locked in. That is part of managing your energy and your focus when you're about to play a game. That is energy management. Now, it is a skill to build more resilience, but it is also a skill you can use when you are angry or when you are frustrated. And actually, all of these resiliency skills are skills you can use when you are angry or frustrated. I took anger management in the 4th grade. Believe it or not, I had serious anger issues as a kid. And I feel if I had learned these resiliency skills earlier in my life, it probably could have prevented me from getting in some of the trouble that I got into. But I'm here today. Now, there is one thing that the majority of you in this room, especially sophomores and below, have that is going to happen in the next year or two that could affect your all ability to be resilient. Can anybody tell me what that thing is? Anybody? Consolidation of the schools. Is that something that could affect your resilience? Or is that adversity? Okay, and I understand. But what I would encourage you all to do is to embrace the change. Because there may not be anything at this point that can be done to stop that from happening. And part of being resilient is adapting to changes, overcoming obstacles. So I understand everybody's entitled to feel how they want to feel about the consolidation. But I'm encouraging you all to be positive about it. Be resilient. Thrive in the face of adversity. And when you find yourself in that situation, and when you find yourself dealing with those challenges, you all will be able to deal with that. At this time, that is all I have for the speech. We have plenty of time for questions. Can you ask the question again?
What are the names of the books?
The names of my books are Thoughts of a Cool Guy and A Butterfly in the Wind. Good question. Anyone else? In the back, what's your question? How do I like the Army? I like it. It's pretty good. I've accomplished a lot of things. I've acquired a lot of skills. I've gotten a degree for free. I purchased a home without having to put down a down payment. The military has helped me in a lot of ways, so I really like it. Next question.
What was the first thing that you realized that you had to change in your life?
The first thing I realized that I had to change in my life was not to take on a victim mindset. And what I mean by that, there are so many people today that say, oh, my dad is not here for me. Well, I live in the projects. I don't have a lot of money. They take on a victim mindset and they feel like everybody's out to get them, and that's why they do the things they do. So I had to not make myself a victim of my situation, embrace my situation, and tell myself that I can accomplish anything in life no matter where I come from. Great question. Anyone else? The only thing that was really hard about it is I was 5,000 miles from everything I know about life. But I'm glad I didn't get stuck. Another thing that was difficult, I deployed in the wintertime. I had to walk a quarter mile to the restroom. I had to walk a quarter mile to go shower, and the water was cold. Can you imagine taking a shower in cold water when it's 6 degrees outside? Very challenging. I had to be very resilient. Next question, please.
What made you decide to join the Army?
What made me decide to join the Army? I was working, I had just published my book, things were going really well for me, but I was still hanging out with people who were still hanging in the streets. And I felt like if I don't leave Chambers County, I may get stuck. And I didn't want that to happen. I'm not saying Chambers County is a bad place. I love Chambers County, I will always come back. But don't get stuck here thinking that this is all there is to life, because this is not all there is to life. Next question. Yes, ma'am.
Could you expound a bit more on what was it that made you say, I knew there was more to this, I want to make some modifications in my life and move
Hey, listen up.
and move in a different direction.
Yes, ma'am.
There had to be, I realized you had some friends that weren't doing the right thing, realized that you didn't want to go that pathway, but I get a distinct feel that there was something else. I don't know, was it a family member, I know with me, my grandmother was very instrumental in my life, and I'm sorry, I just said with me, I know my grandmother was extremely instrumental in my life, so that drove me to do a lot of things and make certain choices when I was growing up. And I'm wondering who was that person, because I'm feeling that there is a person.
Yes, ma'am. Great question. So, one of those people was my grandmother. She always encouraged me. She always told me to do my best. She was very intelligent. She taught me so much. She taught me how to speak. She encouraged me to always look a person in the eye when I speak to them, because it's a sign of confidence. So my grandmother pushed me. And every time I made a bad decision, and when I found myself looking down the barrel of a gun, I thought about people like my grandmother. I did not want my grandmother to not be proud of me. I did not want to be an embarrassment to my grandmother. And also my mom. She was very strong, but I gave her a hard time. I skipped over some things for sake of time, but I got kicked out of the house in high school because I was very disrespectful. I would leave home and not come home for days and not tell my mom where I was. But there was a certain point when I was like, you know what, Martinez, if you don't get your life right, you may die in these streets. And I didn't want that for myself. I believed that I could achieve things. I believed that I could do something positive. And I believed that I had so much potential. And when I finally got sick and tired of not doing the right thing and risking my life, I decided that I needed to make a change, and I started to do that one step at a time. Thank you. That was a wonderful question. Anyone else? Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I'll come back. Can everybody please settle down so I can hear the question?
Why were you at gunpoint?
Why was I at gunpoint? I was hanging out in a place where I shouldn't have been. I had some words with somebody, and next thing I know, a person pulled a gun, and that's what happened. Anyone else? How do I deal with life? I like to work out. I like to run. It keeps me feeling good mentally and physically. I like to read positive things. I like to listen to motivational speakers. Those are some of the things I do to deal with life. Any other questions over here? Yes, ma'am.
Hi. Did you enjoy experiencing other cultures whenever you were deployed? Did you enjoy the music, the vibes, the art, the food?
Yes, ma'am. So the question was, did I enjoy experiencing other cultures when I deployed?
Because a lot of kids don't have a lot of experience.
Yes, ma'am. So unfortunately, when I deployed, COVID happened. So even though I was in Germany and Poland, I was very restricted. But I did still get a chance to meet some people in Germany and Poland, and I enjoyed it. They treated me with respect. I treated them with respect. We have time for 2 more questions, and then I will turn this back over. Young man in the back, do you have a question? Yes? What made me motivated? Honestly, when I was growing up, there were so many people who told me, you can't do this because you're short. You can't play football because you're too small. You can't do this because you're too skinny. I had really crooked teeth. People used to tell me, don't talk because your teeth are crooked. I got tired of allowing what people said about me to dictate how I felt, and I just started to motivate and encourage myself in spite of what everyone said about me. So that is what made me become motivated. Okay, Okay, we have one more question, but after I get done with the mic, find me somewhere in here and I will answer your question if I did not get to answer it right now. So let me take one more and then that will be it for now. Can you say it again? How did I get out of being held at gunpoint? I didn't overreact in the situation. It was a scary situation, but I stayed calm and the guy put the gun down and I was able to walk away. That's how it happened. That is all I have at this time. I will hang around for pictures and questions. and it was so good for me to be able to come back home and speak to you all. Thank you so much.